Access 2016, Module 3, Part 3. We're going to be looking at a multi-table query in this segment. We're also going to see ways that we can sort and filter the data once we have our query results in the data sheet view. Let's get back into our Riverview database. And we're going to begin creating another query. And again, we're going to be using query design because this is not one of our wizards. So this time we're going to use more than one table. So I'm going to add the animal table, and then I'm going to add the visit table. Now, notice if you added the wrong one, you can right-click on it and remove the table. Again, I always like to hover over that bottom border, getting the arrows, so I can enlarge it down and see all of my fields. So I'm going to start by adding the animal type. And then I'm going to add the animal breed, followed by the animal name. Now in the other table, I want to add the visit date and the reason. And that, now I have all my fields in there, so I'm going to go ahead and click Run. And you can see in our data set, we now have information from 2 files. Now because these files are connected in a one-to-many relationship, I have one animal ID, but they can have multiple visits. So as you see here, you can have the same pet come in multiple times, and you see the reason and the date for each of those visits. So let's go ahead and save this query. We are going to call it Animal Visits. Now the first thing we want to look at is how we can sort our data, and this is sorting after the query has ran and we're in the data sheet view. Now this type of sorting is fine unless you have to have the sort happen before the records are selected. And if that happens, then we have to sort a different way. We would have to sort in design view. But in this case, our records could already be selected. So one thing we could do is if we wanted to sort by a certain field, such as animal type, to put all the dogs together, we could sort A to Z or Z to A using the drop-down arrows. Also, you'll notice the A to Z and Z to A sort options here on the ribbon. If you're going to use the ribbon, you could click on the field and give it the sort. So again, I would click on animal type and choose ascending. going to go ahead and remove the sort. And now if I wanted to select by two fields, there are two reasons we would have to sort in Design View. In Design View, we can sort by multiple fields, or also in Design View, if I have to have the sort happen before the records are selected, you must do it in Design View. We're going to see this in Module 5 when we do our top value queries. So that's the other time that you would have to sort in Design View. So we're going to switch to Design View. Notice we have this SQL view. We shouldn't be using that in class. That's available for our queries. You'll be using either Datasheet View or Design View. So we're going to go to Design View, and you'll notice here that there is a sort option. The way Access works is the first field it comes to, going from the left to the right, is the primary sort, and then it goes along and sorts them in the sequence that it finds them. So for example, if we said I wanted it to sort first by animal, oh no, not the breed, we need to scooch over, here we go, we want it by the type. So if I want it in ascending order by the type, and then if the type is the same, within the type I want to sort in descending order by the visit date. So it'll use the animal type first, then if animal type is the same, it will sort by visit date within that. Now when you click Run, it will be in that sort option when the records are selected. Let's go ahead and save this. The next thing we want to look at is filtering. Okay, one thing we're going to look at is how to filter by selection. So let's look at a record that has the word dog in it. So I'm going to scroll down and find that, and I'm going to highlight the word dog. Then I'm going to say selection equals dog, and it will only give me those. I'm going to go ahead and say select all. There's a few other things we could do. So for example, let's say I wanted cattle. I could come in here and use one of these checkboxes. I also have the option to use these text filters. These two options are very similar to what we saw in Excel. So let's select just cattle. Now you can see there are different types of cattle. So maybe I said, okay, I want to see all of the Holstein. So I could highlight the word Holstein and then come up to selection. Notice the little filter with the lightning bolt, and it says selection. This is filtering by selection. So I could either say choose anything that begins with Holstein or contains Holstein. I'm going to go ahead and say beginning. And you can see no matter what number followed, it still selected them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo this filter. So you'd click this and clear filters. Click animal type and clear filters. We're going to go back and we're going to do the selection for dog. So I'm going to highlight dog and I'm going to say selection is equal dog. The next thing I want to do is I want to see vaccinations. So I might highlight the word vaccinations and say anything that contains vaccination, and it would pull in any reasons or diagnoses that would show us that had the word vaccination in them. Now, one thing I can do is I can toggle that filter results off and on. So if I click this toggle filter button, now I see the complete unfiltered data set. If I click it again, I see the filtered data set. So you're able to filter it off and on using that technique. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and that concludes working with a multi-table query. So I'm going to go ahead and close this query. I like to close each query as I'm working with it. When I'm done, I close it because sometimes you can receive error message if you try to do something and you have too many objects open. You might have an object open that Access needs to make changes to, and so it won't allow you to do those tasks. So the easiest thing to do is when you're done working with something, to close it. I think it makes it easier to see what you're doing because you have a clean workspace, and also it prevents any errors from having too many things open at once.